Tomorrow is the day. It is the day that we've been talking about for so long. Now, Trump is winning in a landslide. All the early voting is actually coming for Republicans and actually doing well, way better than expected. Not only that, all the swing states are coming in and trending towards Trump. Now, we only have one day to an election. But remember, that president-elect doesn't take presidency until January. There's a lot that still can take place. Do you think the Dems are just taking their ball and going home and just giving up? No, they're not. And here's what's crazy. There's some world leaders, some big influential people. What about the Economic Forum? And also, another major country sends threats to Trump. How safe is the former president? Let's talk about that today and also talk about some of the new data that's come out and how Elon Musk is warning just what we're talking about. You know, if he doesn't win, what does it look like? If he does win, what does it look like? We're going to discuss that today and a few more headlines. Let's dive in. Day before election. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. It sure means the world to me. And I'll be honest with you, I just want to give just a second to say this. It means the world to me each and every day that you view our channel and that you comment, that you give encouragement. It does. We love doing what we do, and it does mean the world to me. And I truly thank you for coming each day and watching our content. I never want to take that for granted, so I always want to make sure I'm giving you the best quality news I can or the best quality information I can to help you and your family make the best decisions possible and gain wisdom and a common sense approach to this crazy world we live in. Now let's talk about these stories because these are some humdingers. Now, I want to read this quote. I think it speaks of what exactly we need to pay attention to. This is from Lysander Spooner. It says, "Those who are capable of wanting tyranny are just as capable of perjury to sustain it." Now, what does that actually mean? That means for the people who want power so much and is wanting to take your rights, do you honestly believe they're going to take any options off the table? Do you think they're going to do everything in their power to win? Absolutely. So today we're going to discuss a little of that. I want to go to two quotes that were just made, one on Twitter and then one Elon kind of backed. And I think they speak volumes of what we're saying here. This was a quote from Twitter. It says, "If you don't vote and Harris wins, she will grant amnesty to every single foreign national they have allowed to be here. They will nuke the filibuster, pack the Supreme Court, which is all things that she's promised, make D.C. and Puerto Rico states, and America will become really California." This is all things that she's wanted. Adding 2 more states to basically the Union, which are both very much on the liberal side. Not only that, the fact of packing the Supreme Court, they've talked about putting 15 justices. Well, if Kamala gets a chance to put 6 justices, do you honestly believe that we have a chance to ever win again? Especially if another 11 to 12 million people get to vote and they're all mostly in swing states? Now, that's a quote that I think we need to take to heart, and that's why it's so important for them to win, because they want power, and they're not willing to give it up. Elon Musk also said this. He backed this and requoted it. It says, "Those are definitely the stage goals. Unless Donald wins, this will be the last election." Now, he's not saying it as in the world will stop. He's saying that the fact of the integrity and the value and perspective of Republicans ever winning again, or conservative movements ever winning again, or the pendulum turning, it won't happen. We will be a modern-day California. And do you honestly believe, do you want to be that? Think about California. California is a gorgeous state. It has some of the best natural resources, and there's the most people moving out of it because of the environment that the Democrats and the left has done. They've ruined the state, and therefore people are moving away from this hellhole, truthfully, as in California. So he says that the Dems will legalize all the legals in these swing states, and there will never be another red party. It will be a left and more left party, and blue will rule over. This is true. Think about another 12 million voters. Think about a Supreme Court pact. Think about the fact that 2 new states could be in the Union, both having very liberal views. This is exactly what we have online. So all these things we talked about, that's how much they want power. I want you to listen to this, and this is where I think that Trump has got to be careful. This is just some of the talking points that are coming out right now. New York Governor Kathy Hochul claims that the Republican voters are the ones that's truly anti-American. They have trashed American values. You hear that? Hear that rhetoric? They're trying to make a spin on Biden's terms of garbage, but actually what they're doing is they're degrading you and your freedoms to practice religion, to have right to bear arms, and also the fact of freedom of speech. They will go after Elon. They will go after Trump, and they will hold them up in court or try to persecute them and prosecute them if Trump does not win. So that's what's on the line. Now listen to this too. This gets really serious. Medvedev, which is basically the second in command in Russia, listen to what he says. And this is where you have to be very careful of this rhetoric, because now when you start hearing terms like fascist and Nazi, and you hear about the things they're willing to do whatever it takes, Medvedev come out and say the U.S. elections doesn't even matter to us. Ukraine war won't stop, and Trump may get JFK'd if he intervenes. That is a threat on the life of Trump. Now, Putin came out yesterday, which is basically Medvedev's boss, and basically Medvedev will be the successor of Russia. You think Kamala Harris can deal with a guy like this? No. Do you think, like Russia said yesterday, Putin came out and said, look, I believe that Trump is sincere in the fact that he wants to end the war. Now, will we have to figure out what that means? Yes. But I think he's sincere. Russia always plays good cop, bad cop. Putin seems like he's trying to be a little bit more smooth and diplomatic, where Medvedev is kind of like the bulldog. Well, this is a direct threat to one of our leaders of America. Does that mean we need to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine? No. It just means that we need someone that's willing to be strong and stand up. Did you hear? He's not threatening Kamala because he ain't worried about Kamala. What is he doing? He's threatening Trump because he knows Trump is the force to be reckoned with. And he knows, truthfully, he will end the war. No matter what side of the aisle that you think you're on, you have to admit, you have two terms to look at. The Trump term and the Biden term, Biden-Harris term. What represents strength, better economy, and no wars? I mean, just let's think through it. It's an easy answer, Trump. Now, this is probably my favorite story because I think that it speaks volumes of why you have so much celebrities, so many establishment, even Republicans and Democrats, of course, and so many people pushing back on Trump and the narrative, legacy media, all the big players, the biggest of billionaires, other than a few that's with Trump. Listen to this. Yuval Harari, the second in command of the WEF, really will be the one that takes over the WEF once Klaus is gone. If Trump becomes president in 2024, it will be the final death blow to what remains of the global order. And he quotes that because he knows that even though Trump may be powerful, even though Trump may be arrogant, even though Trump may have some narcissistic ways, he's not wanting to join this new world. He's not wanting this new reset. He's wanting America back. And the threat from Economic Forum, they're coming out and saying the quiet parts out loud. Why do you think Soros and the Economic Forum and Bill Gates and Melinda Gates and all these people are against Trump? Because he is disrupting everything that they've tried to push on America. The reset that they want. The change to make America not great, but to make it subservient and subpar to the whole global movement. The UN even says this too. So if the establishment, the most liberal billionaires, the oligarchy, the world powers, the UN, and the World Economic Forum, if all these people are against Trump, but the Main Street Americans are for Trump, doesn't that mean that he is actually going to stand up for morals and values and represent American values more than he would anyone else? Unlike every other politician, almost in Washington. This should make us want to vote for him more because he's seeing what freedom looks like and everybody's intimidated by him. He's a disruptor. And I think that's what makes him huge. That's what even makes RFK even more likable. I'm not the biggest RFK fan. I think he's a lot of liberal ways about him. But he's an old school liberal, so he has a way of looking at libertarianism. I love what he's doing with the food because, again, I'm a sustainable farmer. We are regenerative and organic. So I love to hear that about the fluoride situation. I love to hear that he's going after the food because FDA, USDA, all of them have been just completely bought out, like lobbyists, like every other one, every other bureaucracy. They're all sellouts. So these people are disruptors, and everybody's scared to death of them. And when you start hearing threats like this, don't believe they won't try to do any and everything to get this man to not run or to take his power. Jamie Raskin came out, remember, he said, we will stop him from being president even if he wins. That's not quote-unquote democracy like the Democrats push. I love the fact that they push for quote-unquote democracy, which we're a constitutional republic. But I love the fact that Democrats push for quote-unquote democracy, but they put someone in power that actually was not elected in the primary season, which I think now it's going to blow back on them. I believe they should have got someone like a Shapiro or even someone like, a Midwestern person, not Kamala. But they put her in. That's not democracy, quote-unquote democracy. And then on top of that, they're telling they want to disrupt the election. If all of a sudden Trump wins, they're going to hold him and they're going to try to keep him in lawfare. That's exactly what they're trying. And Jim Rickards, brilliant former CIA advisor and brilliant financier that talks about this, talks about they're going to try all they can and that they have the proof because they're going to try to use old laws to commit lawfare against this man. It's your time to shine and vote. It's your time to stand up alongside other Americans that says, I want America to be the America that we once had, that we were proud of our founding. You know all these all these immigrants, these illegals there, all these people that are coming in illegally, they don't care about our founding. They don't care about our holidays. They don't care about 1776. All these kids that are growing up and getting school indoctrination versus education, they don't care about what it means in July 4th. They think of fireworks. It's so much more than that. And I think that's what Trump does. He brings back value to America. And I think that's what intimidates them the most. Kamala has come on record stating that she wants to take your 2A rights. She's come on record saying that she wants to shut down X. She's come on records to do things to hurt your freedom and take your rights. And how in the world any Americans can be so blinded to vote for her? I believe it's going to be a landslide tomorrow. I really do. I hope it's such a landslide that they have to call it tomorrow night and they can't even think about trying to stop it. I think that's what we need to see. And then I want to see legacy. I want to hold the Republicans responsible. Trump can only do so much. He's got to have help in the leadership. He's got to have help in the legislature. If Trump wins handily, that means these legislators may say, you know what, oh gosh, we can't push against him now. Even if we're establishment, we got to push forward or we're going to lose our jobs. That's what we need. We need a landslide victory. Let's go over a few more stories, and this is why we need it. Some examples. Department of Defense, this is released by Town Hall just a few days ago, but I hadn't mentioned it because I thought, how crazy is this? The Pentagon fails to send absentee ballots of active military service members. They just forgot to turn them in. The military is about 80% for Trump, and the Pentagon just, over all the absentee votes, they just haphazardly forgot to turn in some of them. That's disruption. Don't tell me they won't stop at anything. Remember that quote? Those who are capable of tyrannical ways are capable of perjury to sustain it. They're capable of being tyrants to sustain it. Think about that. Listen to this. Inside Kamala Harris's open border alliance with the United Nations bureaucrats, U.S. tax dollars were spent on foreign national salaries so they could advise other foreign nationals to make the easiest way to migrate to the United States. So she is working with the UN, paying people to figure out the easiest ways to get around our law to get them in America. Is that you want to support that? You want to support the fact that your children and grandchildren may not be able to have jobs because they're getting replaced? Listen to this. Nearly 70,000 aliens were referred to this potential resettlement through the U.S. through this policy. So taxpayers, we paid for this policy and the salaries of these people to find ways to ultimately screw us. This is what a Kamala administration looks like. What about the Buffalo Bills security? There was a guy wearing a Trump shirt at a public event, NFL game, and security was making him take it off. And it was a confrontation, of course. But if he was wearing a Kamala shirt, you think they'd make him take it off? That's why I don't know why you watch football. I don't know why you watch all these sports and try to support all these celebrities and entertainers when they hate you. Why do you want to support them? I used to love football. I was a New Orleans Saints fan during the Peyton and Breeze era. I was even a fan when they sucked really bad before that, and they're sucking again. But anyways, I don't watch football anymore The reason being is because it got so much political. Instead of playing a game to enjoy, to get away from politics, now they embrace it. And look at this. NFL is now saying this guy can't wear a Trump shirt under a jacket. Now, they'd have never said that to a Harris Wall shirt. Why do you want to support people like that who hate your guts and want to see you fail, who want to see your rights taken? This is the administration we'd have if Trump doesn't win. Let's keep on going. Europe gas, and this is a Zero Hedge article. Europe's gas crisis isn't over. They're going into winter. We're going into winter same way, and they are volatile when it comes to supplies. You know why they're volatile? Because the politicians of that area are hurting its own people by this green energy. They're cutting all the good stuff out to keep people warm and not freeze to death over in a cold climate area. But then there's no energy left. What's so funny is they're buying it from Russia when they do buy it. You just don't know that, and they act like they don't want to support Russia. They're paying one side, but then actually getting funded by the other. It's amazing. But people are going to actually, they said they could freeze to death, or the cost of just buying fuel will be out of touch for most European families, especially if they're on a budget. You know why this is a big deal and why we should pay attention? Because our politicians are following that same trajectory. This is that Yuval Harari, WEF kind of thing. This is that John Kerry and Bill Gates kind of thing. The establishment. That's why we need a disruptor when it comes to Trump. Last story I want to mention, and this is something that I think is positive. This is why we need a disruptor. Judy Skelton, which is an advisor, economic advisor to President Trump, she came out on an article and says America's out of control debt is going to be a national security threat. She also said that she believes that there will be a time, and she said even Volcker, which is Paul Volcker, one of the old, Fed, that kind of helped balance out the budget. I don't think was a good guy, but tried to help get back to some kind of sound issue with inflation. Won't you listen? She said even Volcker, back then, and us now, believe the only way that we can ever get out of this debt is that we restructure it based on gold. Why do we see gold skyrocketing? Why do we see China buying so much gold? Why do we see Poland buying so much gold? It's because I think everybody sees what the writing on the wall is. Either we're going to have massive inflation because we're printing money like crazy. We're going to have massive stagflation where nothing is going to grow. We're just going to be literally like a stagnant pool of filth and not actually have any people earning wealth, generating money, innovation, entrepreneurship. None of that will happen because we keep printing ourselves into a deeper deficit. The only way to solve that is you put sound money back on the table. You restructure it. And Judy Skelton, who says, look, the only option is we return back to what we stopped when it comes to Nixon getting away from the gold-backed standard, getting away from having a gold standard and backed money based on gold. You know what that would do? That would restructure all the debt and gold would skyrocket. So I challenge you to buy gold. I think it's a good investment. I know people say, I can't afford it. Buy some kind of gold or silver or precious metals because I believe you're going to see a maneuvering back to some kind of sound money. Now, if it's Democrat wins, they're not going back to gold. They're going to look at some kind of digitized stable coin, which I believe that means more control and more surveillance. But Trump and his advisor are all saying this is where we may need to restract. We may need to come back and reset towards gold. That is huge news. The only way we'll ever get out of this hole is we start cutting the federal government and bureaucracy. And not only that, is restructuring. I'm going to give you one more idea. And I want you to hear me out. This is not for the people that's on Social Security now or fisting to be on Social Security. Think about this. Think of, and again, you have to understand a little bit of the market and understand a little bit of equities and kind of the yes, it is risky, but to be honest with you, Social Security is going broke anyway. What if everybody that was 35 and under had an opt-out, or 40 and under, had an opt-out plan where they can put their Social Security in individual accounts? It still gets collected. It's still mandatory to pay in. But that money is set aside for you and you only. It's not pooled. It's put into an individual equities fund that's growing at a typical 5 to 12% every year. It's a target fund based on it moves and changes and brings value. Think of how great it would be to start structuring Social Security that way. That way we don't see the problems that Social Security is having now. Think if we could restructure it that way. Think if we could restructure Medicare and Medicaid, not in a way of getting rid of it, but to restructure it to make it more competitive with private enterprise. You say, okay, people like monopolies, like monopolies like some of these big insurance companies, that's the only game in town when it comes to having states. Like, for instance, in Mississippi, there is one health provider. Well, that means they can set policy, set rates, and decide what you pay because there's no competition. What if all of a sudden we made competition not only to Medicare, Medicaid, but also to the insurances where they can cross state lines? Think of how much it would save people's money. Think if we could figure out ways like energy. You can't change your substation. You can't change who your energy's from. So there again is a monopolized situation. I have one provider of my energy, and guess what? They're going to charge me what they want to charge me. Think if we could privatize that and make it where it's not co-opted by the government and not subsidized by the government, but it became competition. Post office, you could use UPS or FedEx, which is a lot quicker and a lot easier. You get what I'm saying? We could change everything to where government is not the answer. Government provides the environment for private enterprise, private innovation, private entrepreneurship to make better plans, to make America back great. And that means when you put people and they can start thinking for themselves again and taking responsibility, they're going to change their ways and they're going to be better. This is what's on the line tomorrow. This is what's on the line. Be ready. When you have threats against the man, saying he's going to be JFK'd, you have the fact that the biggest leader of non-governmental advisory panel, WEF, Klaus, and Yuval Harari saying if he wins, it will destroy the global order. Exactly, that's what we want. We want American order. And then once we fix America, we can go help others. But we can't get our house in order if we're worried about everybody else's house. Tomorrow's the day, guys. Everything can change. Thank you so much for watching. Give me your thoughts on this. I threw a lot of crazy things out, ideas out at the very end, but honestly, all these stories are thought-provoking to say, give me one reason why I would want to vote for more control over me, more debt, more monopolies, and bigger business to rule over me, and the chance that I may not can eat meat, I can defend myself. That's what you're voting for. Or it's either more freedom and more liberty. You have two administrations to compare to. That hasn't happened in a long time. You have 2016 to 2020, and you have 20 to 24. Compare those, and the answer is pretty easy. How did you fare between either one of those? You're always going to say Trump. He should win a landslide tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this and comment below. Again, I humbly thank you for always supporting us and watching our content. It means the world to me, and if you could share it, we can keep spreading our message across this platform. Thank you for watching. God bless.